talks about the opposite. What is challenging today to the SMS? Well, actually voice, or flash voice, as a matter of fact. And here, I think I should welcome Juan Felipe Santos Segura, the Vice President of Strategic Partnership for Latam at Vox Solutions. If you know, Vox Solution is the solution part of the Vox group. And I think we might have online as well, and here I need to check with our technical team, Markus, Balasus, the product manager from Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. I can see Markus with wonderful technology of this day. Welcome to
Hi, nice to see you.
Now, I'm going to make myself scarce because I think Juan has got, and Markus is going to give us a presentation, and I will, as always, be back here with your questions at the end. Please, Juan, thank you.
Okay. It's on? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dario, for the quick introduction. As you said, well, the intention of the session is to share a little bit more of what is the flash calling phenomena. Is sounding correct, or I'm listening? Yep, okay, thank you. So basically, we're trying to share a little bit more about flash calling. Let me play with this a little bit. Okay, the session will be divided in these 4 topics. Principally, we will introduce what is flash calling, in case you are not fully aware of flash calling, or if you are already aware, well, basically, is the opportunity to get more information. After that, we will start talking about the impact of flash calling, different perspectives, risks, possible strategies, to conclude basically just with solution or what we are basically doing in the market. I also would like to thank Markus, who is going to provide a really good point of view from the MNO perspective. This was planned also. Yeah, but the presentation. Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically to start, what is flash calling? Flash calling is an authentication method, as we are aware, and well, based on the previous presentation, we are fully aware of authentication over SMS. SMS is always the main authentication method where we receive this OTP traffic. Flash calling is kind of a new way of receiving this type of authentication. Instead of using the SMS channel, we are basically receiving the authentication over voice. What are the big difference? In terms of user experience, is faster, is more secure because there is no interaction between the user and the application. It's just a process that is done automatically. I have on the bottom a couple of videos of how flash calling works, but just for you to have an idea is when you access to an application, let's say WhatsApp or any application, and you're going to start a registration process, you are basically receiving a phone call instead of receiving an SMS. In this phone call, the A number of this call brings directly the code. So this code is basically guaranteeing the authentication process without any need of the user to validate. So if I go and check, for example, these videos, you will see, for example, a Viber authentication process in which they will start asking for your information. I also did play to the emo case, and you will see the big difference. As soon as you include the phone number, it will ask for permissions for you to allow them to read your logs of the call, and as soon as they get that permission, they automatically launch a phone call. With that phone call, the process is done fully automatically. If we see it as an user, sounds really, really good, sounds really interesting, but what we are trying to promote and to share worldwide is the risk for the MNO. MNO currently is receiving important traffic over A2P SMS that if we analyze with this one, they are not able to monetize or to charge for a missed call. The behavior of flash call in CDR of an MNO is basically just missed call traffic. Moving forward with that, so basically that's the main threat. We see how flash calling is impacting the A2P SMS. We have seen in some regions prices for flash calling termination below 70% of the SMS A2P. So those basically affect directly the MNO because OTT is paying for that, aggregator is charging for that, but the one that is not receiving any portion is at the end the MNO. Why is not receiving any charge? As I said, is missed call traffic, so it's a traffic that an aggregator doesn't need to pay in order to complete this authentication method. In terms of identification constraints, we just want to highlight a little bit of the risk or the complicated aspects of flash calling, as is fully missed call traffic is blended with the P2P regular voice call, so it will be complicated for MNO without a solution to identify it. They will need to implement a solution that is able to detect immediately in real time, milliseconds, otherwise it will be really hard. If they block some A numbers that are already detected as flash calling, well, this basically will just solve a specific moment of time, but on the next day they will start having other flash call traffic that is going to be affecting their traffic. Going in details about the impact, if we see just this screen, well, basically, just to put some examples, on the top, there is a big list of aggregators that are offering flash calling actively in the market. As I said, it's an interesting use case, is moving really good, and that's why we see in the middle really important OTTs that are already terminating authentication traffic over flash call. Reasons, better customer experience, but the really big reason, cost. It's really low the cost, as I said, due to the lack of charge that they need to pay to the MNO. I would like to continue to this analysis or this impact in a matter of analyzing the three different options. When we see research companies such as Juniper, they did a full investigation process to identify what is the impact of flash calling. For 2022, they consider that flash calling at the end will be impacting around 20% of market of A2P SMS, meaning that for 2022 is estimated for them to receive around 5 billion authentications that are going to be done over flash calling instead of A2P SMS. And basically the threat of growth that they are considering is that for 2025, it will increase in 25 times, reaching 128 billion flash calls. When we see how this flash calling is adopting in the market, in the OTTs market, so we can say cases such as Viber, such as Telegram, in the CIS region, in which basically, if we compare Q3 of last year, of 2021, with Q1 from 2022, they reduced their A2P traffic to 60% due to migration of the authentication traffic to flash calling. Applications such as Truecaller, Badoo, Glid, they decided to use exclusively flash calling for authentication in many regions. So in that case, basically they decided to replace immediately the SMS. And cases such as TikTok, that is an important OTT on our region. We can say the case of Pakistan, which traffic of TikTok in A2P SMS reduces in 70%. Finally, but just to also give that region perspective, going more in details with this CIS region, with some MNOs that we are working on, we have found, for example, with one specific MNO, that their A2P traffic decreases in 20% due to the flash calling. Same case with another MNO, we found that in the total traffic that they have of voice, 5% of that traffic represents flash calling. So numbers are going higher and higher day by day. and trying to start estimating and guessing a little bit more of Latam region. We start analyzing how OTT's adoption is taking place in this market. We are aware and actually taking information from the previous presentations. We are a region really active in a matter of OTT. Actually, Latam is around 70% in terms of adoption of OTT. And if we analyze top 10 of the OTTs that we use in Latam, 3 of them are already using flash calling in some regions. This basically is to confirm what I was saying. So if we see basically the adoption of OTTs in a matter of regions, we can see that Latam is one of the most interesting ones, the ones with the higher numbers, principally South and Central America. We have a really good adoption in terms of population versus OTT adoption. And this one, we can complement it basically in this slide, in which we can see how 4 countries that are actually the owners of almost 70% of the population of whole Latam are really good located in terms of adoption of OTTs. I'm talking about these 4, Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, and Mexico, which represent the 70% of our population, are also the ones with the highest adoption in terms of OTT. If we take as an example the biggest ones, the Brazil and Mexico, and we check the top 10 OTTs, we can find that WhatsApp, TikTok, and Telegram that are located on the first 10 OTTs are already using flash call in other regions, so it becomes also an important threat to this region. I think that I can give now the floor to Markus.
Yeah, Juan, thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, super. Okay, I'm Markus Balasus from Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. It's an international wholesale department of Telekom Deutschland GmbH. And I would like to give you some input on the flash call concerning the MNO or carrier perspective. And as you see on the screen, on the slide, hopefully, I don't know what you see. Currently I see myself. We look at the awareness of flash calling. What is the awareness in the market? And we did some assessment as we also contribute to the MEF white paper. We prepared some assessment in the market, and we see in general 4 groups where operators can find themselves. So could be that they're aware of flash calling, they are not aware, or they are aware and don't care. And if they are aware, they see it's something like a trick, like a commercial trick to avoid any SMS payments. And other ones which are aware and care are blocking or do monetizing. Yeah, and as I said, during the assessment, we found out that about 95% of all carriers we asked are aware of flash calling, and but 69% do not care about it. So for the time being, I think it's very interesting. And 56% of carriers detect flash calling in the networks. Yeah, what's about such carriers who are aware of? 31% detect time to time or regularly flash calling. 25% monitor it regularly, and 19% block it, and only 3% so far do actively monetize it. And another very interesting question is, how do carriers see flash calling? Is it some sort of technical evolution, or is it just fraud? And yeah, when about 56%, almost 60% now, declared flash calling as a technical evolution, so as a new feature. and only 6% clearly identify this as fraud. Yeah, and what leads the carriers then to say, okay, it's some sort of fraud? Yeah, there's one topic about the missed call. One already mentioned it. Missed call is something we cannot measure as a carrier. And missed calls lead to uncharged events like an email. And flash calling is not really visible for operators. Okay, but missed calls you can or you must differentiate. Do we have missed calls like a normal voice call? You're calling something, let it ring 3 times, and then the counterpart knows, oh, okay, I have to cook now the potatoes, or the information I will come in half an hour. Or do we have missed calls in a mass traffic event? So it's happening a lot, and then it's some sort of unexpected or it's a potential misuse of the networks. That means the telecommunication trunks are overloaded by such traffic and could block other important traffic. And this could then be seen as an endangering of the own network and might lead to carriers saying, okay, this is not wanted, I block such traffic, and is then declared as fraud. But in other items, when we started assessing flash calling, it was about the fact that flash call providers used unallocated numbers, or they did CLI spoofing, and also having a high signaling load, which is not wanted. And another thing is, due to the zero call duration, such traffic is not visible, it's not traceable, and that makes life difficult for carriers. And the other thing is by the blocking, you can say, okay, blocking or monetizing, but blocking is some sort of monetizing because you enforce the flash call provider then to move from flash calling as a one-time password to SMS back, so that the carrier would profit again from it. But this is a topic which must be assessed and discussed further. And then what are monetizing options? So the one is blocking, as just mentioned. The other option is, we talk here about zero call duration events. How could MNOs treat it in the future? I think there must be alignment in the carriers community, and maybe via a forum like GSMA or i3 forum or MEF white paper to say, okay, do we want to invent a new payment structure? To say, can we invoice zero call duration events? But that must be then a topic, as I said, for a multilateral discussion and agreement to come to solutions, and that could be an option for the future. And another option is to cooperate with flash call operators, solution providers. This is also a topic which must be then assessed. What are the solutions? How do they detect such sort of traffic? How reliable is it? And how sophisticated is it concerning the technical development and assessment? Is such traffic really can it really identified? And then then we have also the situation for carriers who don't care. I think they have then to calculate a business case via balancing acts or so on. What is the advantage of not taking care of it? And what is the loss you identify by flash calling, or do you think there's no loss in the payment stream? And that's a topic must be discussed further. And I think Juan has some further slides about this, and so I give back to Juan. Thank you.
Thank you, Markus. Yeah, so to complement what Markus was exchanging and going forward with the possible strategies, we divided basically in three main strategies or main options that MNOs can have on this situation. We start with a neutral strategy in which basically the MNO is not moving forward with a solution in order to control the flash calling. We consider that, and taking into account the research from Juniper and MEF and all the sources, well, basically they will start suffering some impact on flash calling. Maybe they will start doing some actions in order to mitigate, kind of blacklisting or these type of strategies. But at the end, the risk is the loss of A2P SMS traffic that will be substituted with voice traffic, with flash calling. And there are the other two options that, well, maybe we receive that details coming from Markus. We call it like a defensive strategy and a collaborative strategy. Defensive strategy is basically including a solution that is capable to identify flash call with the intention basically to block it, to guarantee that all the attempts of authentication over flash call are avoided, forcing to the authentication traffic to be delivered over SMS. Or collaborative strategies, basically same case, having a solution that is capable to identify, but with the intention basically to monetize it. So as MNO is monetizing A2P SMS, why not to monetize also the flash calling? We did like kind of predictions for these three scenarios using the Juniper research and our internal analysis. And as you can see on the three different charts, for the first case, that neutral strategy will generate a decrease in terms of traffic in a matter of substitution of the authentication traffic. If we analyze the international traffic of A2P SMS, around 80% of the traffic belongs to authentication, to OTPs. So substitution to flash calling will generate an impact of decrease in that sense, compared to the other two strategies that at the end guarantee not only to keep the traffic, but also to make it increase it with the combination of even blocking the flash call to guarantee the A2P SMS, or monetizing the flash call to have two channels based on authentication. So basically that's what we would like to share. For just to conclude with this couple of seconds that I have, we have been working with that. We are doing basically implementations in MNOs with the intention basically to protect them, not only on the SMS part, but also on the voice side, having firewall that is capable of detect flash call in real time. How does it works? Based on principles of machine learning, in which basically it's able to detect with a lot of information that has pre-recorded and during more than 10 years, with the intention of solve any type of risk and be able to anticipate to any situation with this algorithm that was created. Currently we are running with more than 30 implementations, and that's why we can be in this moment considered as player leaders in a fact that we are helping MNOs to monetize the channel. Currently we have more than 20 exclusive flash call terminations on that sense, on the sense of monetizing, because on the other side, what we see is that flash call is terminated at 0 rate. What we are trying to protect is that all the flash call that tries to enter to any specific MNO to be monetized or block it in order to protect the the revenues of the MNOs. That's basically everything from me. Not sure if you maybe have any question for me, for Markus, or Dario brings the magic of online.
Well, thank you, first of all. Thanks to both of you. Thanks to Markus as well. I did promise a topic that we all have to look at because we've seen it. Potentially, there is revenue at risk for multiple parts of the industry, and then we need to understand. Also, I'm glad that, and thanks for both of you, both of your companies, for being part of the discussions that is currently happening at MEF and outside of MEF. It's important to make it an antitrust and informed discussion because we should collaborate, and there are some rules. But this topic is a topic that potentially has got, back to the concern before, an impact on customer experience, an impact on potential frauds. So we do want to keep an eye on it, and we need to look at it as an industry. So some of the things we've heard so far, fantastic, and there is a white paper that I hope we're going to be sharing soon. You're working, so thanks on that from MEF and many other sources. So do get involved. That's my questions. Two, I know we are running out of time, but no problem. We'll catch back because I want to keep you here for a couple of questions only, at least if I could. One announcement, I was asked, Markus mentioned fantastic numbers, and these sessions is recorded, is online, but also will be available recorded. So if you're missing some, you will be able in a few days to come back to it. So we will make sure that all of that is as available, these and all of the other sessions. But I have a question. I'll turn it to both of you and do wear your antitrust hat here, but see what you can say. In the ideal world, what commercial model would be recommended? Would you recommend an MNO to use for flash calling if they want to maintain their A2P SMS revenue? What's the answer there?
Okay, well,
start one, but then Markus, if you could think of something as well.
Okay, well, basically, I think that the only option is to take action. So if they want to keep their A2P business, the solution is to take action. The worst thing that an MNO can do is not to take any type of action. We always try to confirm, and we consider that the decision is always from the MNO. We bring the information basically from our research, from how we see the market, and we can recommend to monetize it, to block it, but I will always say that it's mandatory to take action, even if it's blocking, will you protect the A2P? We recommend more the monetized part due to the fact that it's some authentication channel that OTTs are using, that is providing a good user experience, and at the end that can generate more income to the MNO. But we have cases of MNOs that prefer to block it because they want to keep only A2P SMS. Is completely understandable and acceptable. So just to conclude, I consider that their only option is to take action, even if it's blocking or monetized.
Take actions. And Markus, what would you say?
In general, I agree to Juan, and especially as we did this assessment, and a large share of companies is on the one hand aware of flash calling, but they do nothing. They even do not care about it. And I think that's, from a commercial perspective, not the right decision. At least to think about and to assess further what could be the right situation. I think the fastest one which could be done is the blocking, to block this flash call and then to enforce the party to use SMS again. But on the other hand, more sophisticated solution like monetization, as described by Juan, might be better. And the third option then to charge zero call duration events as a, I would say, long-term solution would also be an option. etc.
Well, thank you. Thanks to both. I think time is really up. I need to move on, but it's a big thank to Juan and to Markus. Thanks again, and we'll hear more from both.
Welcome.